Every February the 10th, so on Tuesday, the church is preparing to celebrate another saint. Who do we celebrate every February the 10th? Have you heard of her? Her name is Saint Scholastica. Have you heard of Saint Scholastica before? So Saint Scholastica died in 542, was born in 480, so we're talking roughly the end of the 5th and the beginning of the 6th centuries. She was from Italy, and her twin brother is a bit more famous than she is. You may have heard of her twin brother. Who is her twin brother? Saint Benedict. Have you heard of Saint Benedict, San Benito? The Saint Benedict cross, named after her brother. Saint Scholastica was Benedict's twin sister. Interesting, because they were both born of a wealthy family, which meant what for her? That she actually learned to read and to write. In the 6th century, did all girls learn to read and to write? Not at all. But because she was born to a wealthy family, she did that. After her brother went off to Rome, she started a community of young ladies. So she was dedicated to God in her early age. She started a community of young ladies, which was really, we call it the first convent, or the first group of women, which is why today she's the patron saint of nuns. So Saint Benedict founded a group of men, of monks. What's the female equivalent of a monk? A female monk is a nun. So she started this group of nuns, and her brother started a group of monks. According to the stories that are left us, they visited each other once a year because he had a very strict rule, and she and her community, they both had rules in their community where, for instance, you didn't stay overnight. If you were a guy, you didn't stay overnight in the community of women. If you were a woman, you didn't stay overnight in the community of men. And so once a year, they would go and visit one another, and they would talk about spiritual things, and then they would say, "See you next year." And then they would talk again the next year. There's one story that's told that when Saint Scholastica was nearing death, she wanted to talk to her brother a little longer that night, that year, right? They only see one another once a year, and they talked about things of God for that one night. And she said, "Please don't go." But he said, "Oh, I have to get home. I have to get home to the monastery." She said, "Please don't go." According to the story, she prayed, and the Lord sent a storm to keep him from going home. And he said, "What have you done?" She said, "I asked you, and you didn't listen to me. So I asked God, and God listened to me." Ooh. And so Saint Scholastica today, how would we identify Saint Scholastica? We talk about iconography. If you saw an image in a stained glass window or of a statue of Saint Scholastica, how would you recognize her? First of all, because she's dressed like a nun, right? She started a community of nuns. She's dressed like a nun. And she usually has in her hand either a crozier. What's a crozier? A crozier is that staff that bishops carry, that shepherd's staff. Why would she have that? Because she was the head, the leader of a community of women. So she's often a nun depicted with a crozier or with the crucifix. Today she's the patron saint of nuns. She's also the patron saint who's invoked against storms and rain. So if it's storming outside and you need a saint to pray to, Saint Scholastica is your gal.